Today I wanted to look in Mark chapter 4, and at the very beginning of chapter 4, Jesus tells them the parable of the farmer scattering the seed. I'm going to start in verse 13, where he is explaining the parable to his disciples. They came to him later and they were asking him what the parables meant, and in his explanation he talks about the parable itself. So we'll start in verse 13. It says, "Then Jesus said to them, 'If you can't understand the meaning of this parable, how will you understand all the other parables? The farmer plants seed by taking God's word to others. The seed that fell on the footpath represents those who hear the message, only to have Satan come at once and take it away. The seed on the rocky soil represents those who hear the message and immediately receive it with joy. But since they don't have deep roots, they don't last long. They fall away as soon as they have problems or are persecuted for believing God's word. The seed that fell among the thorns represents others who hear God's word. But all too quickly the message is crowded out by the worries of this life, the lure of wealth, and the desire for other things, so no fruit is produced. And the seed that fell on good soil represents those who hear and accept God's word and produce a harvest of 30, 60, or even 100 times as much as had been planted." So I've heard a lot of people talk about this and talk about the different kinds of seeds that try to grow and the different ways that we hear and respond to the word. But the one thing that I kind of wanted to focus on today was just that verse 20. It says, "And the seed that fell on good soil represents those who hear and accept God's word and produce a harvest of 30, 60, or even 100 times as much as had been planted." The evidence for whether or not that you heard the good word and that you received it and that you are following the Lord is your harvest and the fruit that you're producing. And here Jesus says that if it was good soil and it was working, then you're going to have 30, 60, or even 100 times as much as had been planted when you go for your harvest. And so I think that, to me, that's kind of a challenge for me to look at my life and am I producing a harvest? Am I taking that word and am I letting it grow within me and be growing so well that it's so obvious to others that they are questioning and they're coming to me, or I'm witnessing to them and I'm producing a harvest? And so I think that that's a good thing for us to remember as we live out our day-to-day lives. Are we producing that harvest for the Lord, and are we trying to reach others with what we've been told and share how it's changed our lives? So I think that's really good.
Yeah, I don't think God would care if we were an overachiever in that part.
No, probably not. I think that's the point of that. So, yeah.
So how can we find your blog and your YouTube page?
It's hebringsjoy.com, and on YouTube you just search #ThoughtToPonder.
All right, here's the Franz family.